do with the Bowflex that I put together over here in the corner. It has to do with behind there. There's a guitar I bought my mom for her 60th birthday, which was on the 25th, and so I'm going to surprise her because she's been actually following the Play from Day One program and loving it. Like, so, I mean, she's known I've played music for years and she's wanted to play for years. She did a little bit here and there whenever I chose something random, but now for some reason she just really wants to learn. And so I lent her my classical guitar that I had laying around. And anybody who owns a classical or has played a classical guitar knows that the neck is much, much taller than an electric or a steel string. Face value, it's a fretboard, and it seems like it's kind of the same thing. But when you're playing G's and you're playing chords and stuff, it's really not. Like, it's not the same thing. And it's not a good guitar to learn on if you're not playing classical music. Like I was playing with that Spanish Romance, you know. The reason for the tall space is so there's room to finger pick, and so there's room to play certain melodies. But anyways, she's playing on that. So I bought her a steel string guitar. I'm going to surprise her with. Got her a custom strap with her 3 grandkids' faces printed on there. It's just she's going to lose her mind when she sees this. Anyway, so yesterday I went guitar shopping. Got back in town. Settled in for a couple of days, and I knew that I was going to go to the music store and go guitar shopping. So that's sort of like one factor over here. I also bought this Bowflex over here because I pulled out my back or like my sciatic nerve that I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. I've been neglecting my health for a long time. I used to work out a bunch. I need to get back into shape. And so I bought a Bowflex. I found a sweet deal, got that, awesome. What do these two things have to do with each other? And what the hell does this have to do with what we're talking about? It's always a point. There's always a method to the madness. Trust me.
Madness to the method, yeah.
Yeah, madness to the method. Okay, I love that. That's funny. So basically, one thing, I'll start with the Bowflex. So I put together, so this thing comes in comes in this box, and super, super heavy box that I've already got a bad back that I'm recovering from here, and I bring the box home, slide it down onto a dolly in my garage, and taking piece by piece while my daughter's sleeping, like tiptoeing, trying not to make any noise, piece by piece down to my basement here because I can't lift it up. I have nobody else to lift it, and even if I did have someone to lift it, it'd make a lot of noise. Anyway, so I'm going piece by piece. Okay, that's one thing. So, and also I'm like going tiptoeing. I've got a bad back, so these pieces aren't light, by the way. These pieces are definitely not light. I put them all down, lay it all out, and I'm going to actually breeze through the story. I see in the manual that it doesn't come with the tools. Like let's say putting something together like IKEA, it comes with the tools like the Allen key and all that stuff. Right. It doesn't come with tools. You need to have a screwdriver. You need to have 2 adjustable wrenches. And I'm like, oh shit! I don't have wrenches. I don't know where my wrenches. I have one wrench. I have one wrench, and it's like the vice grip one because my sink needed a repair earlier this year. It's a vice grip, and then also my father-in-law, he brought one over, but I can't find it, and it's also nighttime. And my daughter's sleeping, and my daughter cannot wake up because if she does, all hell's gonna break loose. She has to keep sleeping because we just got back from a 6-hour time change. Things are crazy here. So I can't make that much noise. I can't find this wrench. So I have a set of pliers, and we've got these bolts that need to be, or these nuts that need to be screwed on because this is pretty heavy duty equipment. Like this has to it's good that there's like these pieces here, and it's good that these tools are required, but I don't have the tool. So I don't have the right tool for the job. And I have the vice grip there on one side, and I have the pliers trying to create the opposing motion, right? But the the pliers are slipping, and I could it's just bad news. It's like scratching off the paint on the bolts. My hand, like even though it's working and I've got some of the tightening, like my hand is just turning into like a monstrous claw here. Like it's bad news. And this is after like 3 or 4 bolts in. So Anyway, like this is like, and I've got a big job. There's like a lot of bolts. This is a big
Yeah.
job for them, right? So I'm like 15 bolts in, and like some pieces are not. I'm at the point now where I thought that like I had like 3 hours. I was gonna put this thing together, do a little workout as well, just enjoy my night, like really enjoy my night. And no, this definitely didn't happen. I got to the point where I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of like connect the pieces a bit, to where like they're not tight, but like they're kind of like around where they need to be. I'll go out to the hardware store. I'll buy a wrench tomorrow. It'll all be fine. Anyway, my hand was a mess. And like, and I also need this for playing guitar. Like this, I'm not putting together gyms for a living here. I can't have a claw. Like I can't have tendonitis, I can't have an RSI. And also because I'm contorting and also trying to like put this thing together myself, just by myself, my body's just like super sore. This is ridiculous how much pain I'm in at this point. And so
you got a good workout in.
Got a good, yeah, exactly. I told one of my buddies, I'm like, yeah, put the Bowflex together. Like this thing's a workout in itself. Just put it together. But here's the main factor is, and this does have to do with guitar, is that I ended up, I stupidly, there was an oversight. Like I checked the box again where I had like keep some of my tools, and I found at the bottom of it, I found the wrench the whole time. 2 hours of my life that I'll never get back again. The whole time that second wrench was there. I was so pissed. And anyway, after like when I got that wrench there, I was just like, okay, all right, and tight. Like 3 seconds. Whatever I was trying to do with the pliers, I did in 3 seconds, like in just a fraction of the time. Got it tight, got the stuff. I'm like, whoa, I'm gonna put the Bowflex together tonight. This is awesome. I'm gonna like try this thing out. This is great. And I had the right tools. And so what a enormous difference it made when I had the right tools rather than when I had the wrong ones, or ones that are kind of like I could kind of get by. Remember, pliers, wrench, like half-assed, and I had a lot of pain, a lot of frustration, a mess.
A man is only as good as his tools.
Exactly. And so as soon as I had the right tools, the job got done so quickly. I would have built that thing in 40 minutes if I had the right tools, right? The funny thing is that the requirements on the manual said exactly what I needed. Like I was trying to do all this different stuff. I veered off because I was still trying to make it work. And that's commendable in some way, that like I'm trying to make it work no matter what. But it's also was super frustrating, super painful, and I didn't get the result that I wanted. So what does this have to do with the beginner guitar? So I go guitar shopping yesterday, and I'm trying these different guitars, and I have a certain budget that I want to buy the guitar. Like I wanted to spend less than $300 for the guitar, because also I'm splitting it with my sister. I was like, I'm working with someone else, and I want to make sure I'm not buying like a $5,000 guitar or anything. I want to make sure that it's a decent guitar for the price. And one thing that just kind of screams at me when I'm trying the guitars is how bad guitars at that price point can be. So like under $300, because like typically you have like 300 and lower, then you have kind of I guess like, or maybe like let's say 500 and lower is like sort of entry level, then 500 to $1,000 is kind of like mid tier, maybe like 1,500, and like above 1,500 is like a bit higher end. There was a guitar that was like $7,000, but anyway, so the point is that there was beginner guitars, right? I was trying a whole bunch and just trying to like weigh three things: the look, the feel, mostly the feel, but the and then the sound. I don't want it to sound too brittle or like crack or like buzz or anything like that. So I'm trying a bunch, and oh man, it's crazy frustrating for me as a coach to see what is out there for that price point, because that's generally a price point that people buy when they're buying the guitar. Sometimes they do the thing where they buy a super expensive guitar thinking that's going to sort of like hack their way into practicing, which it doesn't.
Yeah, right.
Getting results on guitar is what allows for you to keep that bug and be excited and all that. I've just seen it too many times. Anyway, but like most people buy a guitar that's like a budget guitar, like say buy one, and it's crazy how bad those guitars are, where the strings are either too high up. When you press down, it takes too much effort. It sounds bad. Like it just doesn't feel right. You play and it's just like the frets are a bit sharp. You guys like gone guitar shopping, you've probably felt guitars like this. And so, I mean, it sucks because like you feel a guitar like that, and like, I mean, you pick up maybe an $800 guitar or like a $2,000 guitar, and it feels great, and you're like, oh man, I just wanted to rent a guitar. I just came in here to rent, and like now I'm dropping like $2,000 on a guitar. And so it's like straining something. It's either straining you because you're playing and playing the beginner guitar that sucks and doesn't play well. It's straining you. Or the other thing is straining your wallet, and you buy something that feels great, but it's like either way, it's stressful. Anyway, with the beginner guitar, it's very, very similar to Bowflex. My experience with Bowflex, because what I've realized is like when you don't have the right tools, see, like there, I knew I didn't have the right tools, right? I didn't have like the right thing. I had the pliers. It was making a mess. It was like it was hurting I was hurting myself. And so like with the guitar, with the beginner guitar, I ended up finding one that actually was good. It was like $269. It was a Fender. Just a suggestion for anybody, if you don't have an acoustic or you're buying an acoustic, it might seem obvious, like it might actually, like you might know this, but if you buy a guitar, an acoustic guitar, a lot of times, like if you're buying a guitar that has like a cutaway and the electronics, just know that that's what you're paying for. Like when you're paying like a higher price, like if you want to buy a quality acoustic guitar, like it's great to have acoustics that have cutaways and like electronics and stuff like that. But just know that if you were to pay the same exact amount of money for an acoustic guitar that didn't have the cutaway and the electronics, that you're getting a much better quality guitar. It might seem obvious, but just like, so this is a lower price point that I'm talking about, but the same thing happens even at a higher price point, is that I bought there was a guitar that had cutaway and electronics. It was $269, which is a very affordable guitar, but that's really more like a $200 guitar, like a $150 quality guitar, because you're paying for the electronics and the cutaway. Whereas I wanted to spend the same amount in my budget, $269, on a guitar that didn't have the cutaway and the electronics, because I wanted to be paying for a better guitar. Okay, it makes sense. Like we want to make sure that, I mean, and then if you want to get a guitar that's a cutaway and electronics, which is definitely good. I mean, like it's great to have that. Just factor in your budget that if you want like a $500 guitar, just know that like you probably want to spend like $620 or something like that. Like you want to like, if you want a $500 acoustic guitar, factor in what the guitar is worth. It's a $500 guitar, and then you're paying for the electronics on top of that. So like that's sort of how to get a good quality acoustic. Sorry. Anyway, so I bought the acoustic, but after trying like 20 different ones, and I just thought like, man, how much of a tragedy it is for all the beginner guitar players we lost, because you pick up a guitar and you're learning and you don't know any better, and you're learning and you're trying to play something on a guitar that is not playable even for a pro. You're pressing down so hard.
Yeah.
And for you think that it's like, oh, I suck. I don't have any musical relatives, or my hands are too small. Whatever the excuse is, you start rationalizing, because that's what we do. But it's a tragedy, because all that guitar needed was, let's say, a setup, or it just actually was a game that you're guaranteed to lose because it was not set up properly. Like in construction, it wasn't built properly. So what's the point of the story here? The point of the story is, number one, always use the right tools. And that goes for the guitar that you have. Make sure that you have strings on there that are light enough that it should feel fairly easy, that you get a setup once or twice a year at least. If you can do it yourself, this would be great. Once a season, so once every 3 months, especially if you're in a 4-season country, like where you're experiencing humidity and as well as like cold and all that. Make sure your tools are good, like you're in tune and your tuner is good and easy, and you can play that. Like guys, if you're having a hard time pressing something down on guitar, for how long you guys have been like working with me, if you're having a hard time like pressing a chord, it's possible that your strings are too heavy, or your guitar needs to be set up. Like,
Yeah.
it's very possible that that's the case. Okay. Because what's going to happen if your tools aren't there, like if you don't have the right tools, your hand is going to hurt. Like I did with the pliers, you are going to be frustrated. You're not going to get the result. Okay. That's why I bring up the Bowflex, because that's the same thing. Like, it's like this light bulb turned on in my mind. Like, this is ridiculous how when you have the wrong tools, how you're not going to get even close to the result that you can get. So that's why also I urge you to go to a music store and leave your wallet in the glove compartment or with whatever warden you might have in your life. Okay.
Right.
Leave it there and go to the store and try their more expensive guitars. Okay. Whether it's electric or acoustic, whatever you are playing at the time. Go there and see what it feels like to play a guitar that is that's set up properly and like really expensive. Like, don't get me wrong, sometimes they're super expensive and they're not set up well. And like, work with someone at the store like who can play and like see and hear them play and see if it sounds good and like feels good, and ask them like, is it easy to play? Look, when you pick up a guitar, and maybe you guys have experienced this on one of your guitars or many, you should be able to pick up a guitar and it should feel like butter when you're playing. Like, there's nothing like a guitar that, especially acoustic, when you pick up a guitar, an acoustic guitar that is easy to press down and move around, the difference. Like, you'll feel it right away. And this isn't to discourage you that when you go home to, you have your guitar there, that you're like, oh man, well, that obviously that guitar was $5,000. Here I have this one here. What it is to show you that you are actually a better guitar player than you might think. And it might be your equipment that's holding you back. It might be your tools that are holding you back. Like you said, Doug, that, man's only as good as his tools. Okay. Is double check. Like, if you're close to a music store, if you can go to a music store, just double check that your strings. Guitar should feel fairly easy, okay? Especially with some of the chord shapes that we've been playing, it should feel fairly easy to press, okay? If you're pressing down, it's requiring a bit of muscle. It's probably that you need lighter strings, or your guitar needs a setup. And a good way to check that is just go to the guitar store. Even if you want, bring your guitar. Ask the person if it's like, if it's set up properly or whatever. Just double check. It's a very real thing. And so that's one factor in your guys' lives that that is a very real thing. It's possible that when you're not playing something well, yes, I said to John Landrum, you might be missing something. You might be missing a step. You might be missing something, sure. But if it's something that like chord shapes that like, let's say super chords or whatever, and it's feeling like a struggle, or even bar chords for that matter, if it's not feeling easy, it's possible your equipment's holding you back. And I couldn't even feel it on my acoustic right now. My acoustic needs some work because it's not feeling as easy as mine originally did.
I have 3 Alvarez guitars, Artist Series, exact same shape. And one of them, I just couldn't, I want the action close. And one of them, I just couldn't get the action close. So I started comparing them, side by side.
Yeah.
And found out that the bridge that they used, they never cut it down.
There you go.
All right. So I had to hand sand
at
least 1/16 of an inch off of that bridge, put it back in. And now I have it, to match the others where the action is nice and low.
Yeah.
But, and even then, you have to adjust that truss rod regularly.
Yes. Yeah.
Regularly,
yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, wood.
Because of the seasonal changes, temperature, humidity.
We're talking about wood and metal. Both objects contract and expand depending on the temperature. Okay.
Right.
And so, in Chicago, Illinois, and like in Toronto, this isn't going to happen in the same way as Australia or Nashville. There's going to be different kinds of things for sure. when you have dry heat or humidity, or you have 4 seasons like we experience, instruments definitely change, and you have to keep an eye on that. And it's one thing that even I forget about, where I think like, oh my God, like my technique is in the garbage, like it's in the garbage can, because like it's just because my string height, I just may have forgot my string height needs to be adjusted, and I forgot. So just, it's a very real factor. Like if you tried something like 15 times and you aren't getting it, and maybe even with something that you feel you should be able to get, like let's just say it's like full bar chords, or like how easy it is to move from bar chord to bar chord. It's possible, yes, like I said, up here, you might be missing something. You might be like not understanding something, or there's a question that needs to be asked, or feedback you need to get, for sure. That's totally legitimate. But then also from an equipment side out here, chances are it's probably going to also be that your guitar, when it's set up properly, it's almost like a child can play it and press down. Like the pressing part should not be an issue, guys. Okay, that should not be an issue. You guys have the chord forms and stuff like that. It's just, it shouldn't feel like it's hard to press. And again, you can go to a music store, try like more of the higher end stuff, or bring your guitar in and just ask them if it's set up properly. Try the lightest gauge strings. I'd rather that you dropped $8 to try the lighter gauge strings, the lightest strings that you could even find. Realize how it's the wrong set of strings. And I see it's time for bed. All right, Wayne, love you, buddy. All right, man. Great to see you again. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Awesome. So buying eights, like eights might be the lightest strings, or nines you might find. Be frustrated with how light they are and how you're bending the strings out of tune too much, rather than drop the $8 and have like a couple of days with the wrong set of strings, too light, than for months thinking that you need to do whatever might be for a specific technique that you have, or whatever, like with the wrong gauge of strings. I make recommendations. Like I have certain strings that I like for whatever reason, the tone, the feel, but like everybody's got their own feel and set, and every guitar that you have has their own, like, you know, you put the strings on one guitar and the same set of strings on another one, and it feels different. So you have to really be intimate with that and timely with it. So the setup and all that stuff, it's a real thing. The same way that a guitar collects dust, like, you know, you just have to kind of be on top of that. And because that's a very, very real factor in your ability to play. Yeah, maintenance. Very real factor in your ability to play guitar, for sure.
I found that when I got my electric guitar, you know, I was just playing electric, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 weeks, just playing electric.
When you got the Yamaha, yeah.
My acoustics.
Yeah.
Then when I went back to play on the acoustics, I had a hard time.
Yeah.
So now I play acoustic in the morning,
yeah,
and electric at night.
Love it. Yeah, you regimented it.
So I can keep my finger strength up.
Yeah, totally. And also not just your finger strength, also keep tabs on the status of your guitars. Like, because if you're playing it every day, if you're playing the same kind of stuff and it's feeling harder to play, well, chances are, what's the part of the equation? It's probably the equipment that needs adjusting, right? And that could be also your strings need changing, because it's not just about changing the gauge of the string, like going to a lighter gauge, or it's not about changing the string height. It's also about changing the strings to be fresh, because when all the gunk and all the oils and stuff from your fingers go in there, and I mentioned this last time, sliding is harder and moving around is harder when your strings are all gunky. It doesn't even sound good either. When you're strumming, all that gunk affects the tone. So, you know, string changes maybe once every 2 months, once a month if you want to, keeping that fresh. It all depends on how much you play. But yeah, but those are real factors, man. And once you stay on top of that stuff, like I'm definitely like, so this guitar and my other Strat, I play the most. probably because I record the other Strat a lot. I'm usually on top of the strings with that. But like I've got 3 guitars over here on my left that I don't even remember the last time I changed those strings. And so that's just not good, because when I pick that guitar up, it's probably not going to play well, and for a variety of reasons. So anyway, being on top of that, it's the same way that I mentioned keeping things simple, creating games that you're guaranteed to win. That's part of the game. The equipment is part of the game. So anyway, Bowflex, beginner guitar, these things reminded me that you have to have the right tools. It's so important, because up here, all we need are wins. That's the main thing. We need wins. And that's what keeps us motivated. That's what keeps us, like, you know, we were chatting with Enrique about having a part of the pie that's going to be just for like something specifically like challenging and new. Like in order for the mind to even be able to handle all that, you need to be having wins somewhere else to be able to like keep that forward, propelled forward.
On my electric, I got it in November, so almost a year, coming up on a year. I wanted new strings, but the last 3 weeks, it's in tune every time I pick it up. Now I'm afraid to change the strings.
No, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
No, it's all good.
Or no?
Yeah, no, change them, man. Because like you're that fresh. It's like a breath of fresh air. Whenever you put new strings on the guitar, it sounds and feels amazing. So, so I would totally recommend that, and just double check that the action's all good and all that. It's kind of, look, you want to also get good at changing strings so you can do it fairly quickly, because that job, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. Like if you're gonna change the strings and like doing an experiment with this gauge of strings, let's say like 9s or something like that, and you took 30 minutes to change the strings, or maybe it takes longer, maybe it's 40 or an hour, and then you're playing it, and you're like, okay, cool, well, now I'm going to try these other ones, and you like have to cut new strings.
Yeah.
You cut those in order to then like try something else. It's just like, okay, another hour or whatever it might be. Yeah, and just like tossing out the cash. Yeah. I mean, it's but it's worth it when you find a set of strings that you really like. Like I'm all about D'Addario. When you find a set of strings that you really like and you realize, okay, no, this guitar actually, this feels good. You're setting up the stage for victory. You know, and so that's what we want to do. We want to make sure when we're playing guitar every single day we're playing, we have to make sure that we are at least playing like at a level playing field. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. If we're not, all the other stuff that we were talking about the Facebook Live, the singing, the playing along with the record, the chords, the strumming. Well, hey, what about if the guitar isn't set up properly? Then we're like, there's another thing on top of it that we're fighting against. So we have to, we really have to be aware of all of those things. And so, especially for you guys, you know, who have multiple guitars, just knowing that that's a factor. It's not always you. It is not always you. It's sometimes the guitar. When I pick up my acoustic, or that day that I was telling you guys about when I was doing the studio session where I was recording for hours on a guitar that was not set up well, I knew I was going to be hurting the next day. It was a tough session, and I needed to change those strings and needed to set up the guitar, but I didn't. So yeah, always use the right tools.
Yeah, maybe I don't change the strings. Now I have, you know, I can always blame it on the guitar.
There you go. No, right? That's the moral of the story, guys. Yeah. Everyone will achieve every 90-day goal if you just pass the blame to something or someone else.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the secret to achievement. Awesome. All right. So awesome, Doug. Great stuff on what you've done. Great stuff on what's coming up as well. There's some cool stuff on Creep that I can't wait to show you. So we'll check in with one of our bandmates here, and then we'll wrap up the session. But that's great, man. Really great to hear.